G'day folks, my name is Rob and welcome back for another F1 Fantasy Deadline stream. Hope you're all doing well, having a great Saturday and looking forward to the next iteration on the F1 Fantasy calendar. Hope you guys are all doing well and having a great week so far. Lots to unpack in today's Deadline stream. So looking forward to answering all of your questions for the next 2 hours or so. But yeah, it's been a interesting, let's call it, day or so of free practice. Couple of days of free practice. So yeah, looking forward to getting into the thick of things with all of you. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good stream, no doubt. Coming off the highs of Miami, certainly looking forward to the next one. It's been a long 2 weeks, I'll be honest. But yeah, Jason, Matt, Jack, Emily, Caspar, Stanley, Mazuris, hope all of you guys, Nixie, a regular in the chat, hope you guys are all well. We've got 2 hours of fun. I know quite a few folks are streaming today as well, given the favorable time zones across Europe and the US. So yeah, we got 2 hours, come and go as you please. There's obviously no obligation to stay for the entire 2 hours, but I do like to obviously hang around for a bit longer so people can come and go and get to their usual Saturday commitments around F1. So yeah, we'll get through it. Lots to talk about, but you know, as who was it? I just saw a comment. Who was it that was saying it feels, Nixie, I think it was saying it's very obvious. I mean, I wouldn't say it feels very obvious, but I don't think my decisions really changed all that much since my team selection video 10, 12 days ago. So yeah, lots to obviously dissect. And I think, I do think there'll be deliberations and discussions. So I'm just checking the mics. All good, which I think it is. Lots of deliberations and discussions on different lineups, but I do think, oh no, I'm firing off my tweet, but that I'm live, but I'll have to change that. That's what happens when you try and multitask too early in the stream. You obviously make big mistakes. I'm not live for the Miami GP. I'm live for the IMOLA GP. But yeah, lots to decide. I think there are some combinations. Mike, how are you? Footbiz, Christian, Firoz, Kareem. Thank you, Kareem. Much appreciated, mate. Yeah, lots to talk about. I mean, we're going to go through the template. Obviously, we've got the McLaren Mercedes lineup, undoubtedly. We've got Kick Sauber. I didn't talk about it much in my final thoughts video, probably just because I'm not going near it this weekend, but I think there are arguments to obviously discuss Kick Sauber, and Williams understandably deserves some attention this weekend, and even Red Bull, which I will say I've locked in transfers for my Team 2 already, and I will be running the Red Bull constructor just because of the high budget with Alex Albon, which we'll obviously cover off a bit later in the video or later in the stream. But as always, and I sound like a broken record, it's nothing more than just for the algorithm and to hopefully build exposure around F1 Fantasy is to throw a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm not going to fault you if you haven't, to be honest. There's no, again, like I said, obligation to, but it does go a long way. So again, thank you to all of you already dropping in and engaging, because we've got, as I said, a lot to get through. So I have to, I'm just on a laptop today, so I will be scrolling up and down through the live chat as opposed to just letting it run in the background. So if you miss your question, drop it again in the comments or in the chat, and I'll 100% activate it. To limitless or not to limitless, Christian, I don't think this is a limitless weekend unless you've got 5 or 6, I'd say at least 6 assets in your team expected to either rise or not change in value. If you've got the likes of Lawson, Alonso, Behrman, etc. coming off Miami, I wouldn't really be limitlessing this weekend. Glad the no negative worked out for you, RMM. Should I activate wildcard? Depends on your team, Kipto. Depends on your team. I think for like -20, absolutely. If you're not close to the template lineups, like a McLaren Piastri Mercedes or a McLaren Piastri Williams, then I'd think about it. But you can also get away with taking a -10. Diraj, Michael, great to have you. Lots of Michaels in the chat today. God, thanks, Emily. Thank you. That's what I get. I rush these tweets when I go live. And I don't proofread them. And I'm bloody annoyed when that happens. Thank you for the call out. Thanks, Nixie. Yeah, thank you, guys. Felix, great to have you back, mate. Which chips have I used? I've only used no negative. I've got my wildcard handy, and I think I will be using that in the next few weeks along with Limitless. Miami was the best weekend, thanks to the no negative. I'm glad it worked, Uzer. Jack, yeah, I think about taking a -10 to get out of a budget building team. I think this week in Monaco are not great for budget building assets. Signs this week for Limitless next. It's a tricky one. I think Signs is a great asset to own. I think if you go, I don't hate the idea of going with him this weekend. The only thing is that like that 0-pointer in Miami is something to think about, and I'm just not sure if that's going to affect his thresholds for a rise in Monaco or not. It just depends on how well he goes this week. If it's a good week, then I think the 0 is not going to be as much of a factor. If it's a dud week for Signs, it's not great. I just don't want to try and book in transfers for drivers that aren't yet expecting a price rise. If obviously we've got kind of uncertainty around them in future weeks. Signs is a touch and go. Am I setting up for a crazy Limitless in Monaco? I'm very much open to the idea of it, but like as was the case in Miami last week, Matt, it could be very much kind of in the bin if DNFs are afoot this week as well. So playing it by ear, but I've got an idea in my mind of in Monaco, if not certainly Silverstone. Hungary I've talked about. I know Rain is eyeing off Spa potentially. It could rain there, so we'll see. Sammy, how are you, mate? CB88-3. Doug, good to have you back. Yeah, I agree. Stroll's a bit of a touch and go option. I'm not sure, to be honest. I think he's like a great budget building asset for this week and maybe next. He's got that 25-pointer last week as well, so it's I think Stroll's perfectly fine. Stroll is perfectly fine. Again, I'm scrolling back up. Apologies for the analog approach. Hannah has a similar lineup instead of Alonso. Could you talk about why you're not doing Limitless? Because I was thinking of are you doing it in Monaco? Yeah, so Limitless, I should maybe change that quote in the bottom left for my Limitless plans potentially. I'm saving it. I'm not doing it in IMOLA because I've got 2 assets in Behrman and Alonso, and if I activated Limitless this weekend, I'd lose 0.6 for both of them. So it's just a budget mitigation strategy to deploy it later when my team's set up nicely. Terry, how are you, mate? I hope you're gearing up for a good stream on FanAmp, Coffee Corner Motorsport. One of the greats in the F1 fantasy community. Floris, I've got a lot of great friends from South Africa. Great country. Does Ferrari have any tricks up their sleeve? No, not this weekend. I just don't trust them. Neither driver feels confident in the car. Neither driver really showed much in practice so far, which probably is a nice segue into free practice time. So we'll go through them in just a second. I wouldn't go near them, Floris. Have I ever played squash? No, I have not played squash. I have a game of paddle booked in next week with some colleagues though, so that should be fun. Bernard, Piastri, Russell, Colapinto, Stroll, Hadjar. That looks great, mate. I'm assuming you're running McLaren Williams or McLaren Kick with that kind of driver lineup. What do I think of McLaren RB? I'd avoid RB. I'd go Williams over RB. A little bit more, but I think a bit more reliability. I think Mazuris, I'd probably move off Alonso if you can. It just seems like a guaranteed 0.6 drop. We should have had a fantasy race for the Lego League. I don't even know who won the Lego race in Miami. I can't afford Albon. If you can't afford Albon, then go Stroll. Naughty, yeah. I don't think Stroll will. I think Stroll's 25 points sets him up nicely for at least maybe a 0.2 in Monaco. And the best thing about Stroll is that he'll qualify. He'll be out in Q1. So at the very least, if people DNF ahead of him, Stroll's going to at least pick up a few extra positions. Alonso, Berman out, Colapinto, Albon in. Haven't decided on swapping Mercedes for Red Bull. I think Mercedes are the safer option. I agree. But I do think, as Mike's pointed out, Mike Feynman in the chat, that Feynman, sorry, Mike, I'm not even sure if I've pronounced your surname correctly, and we've obviously been Twitter friends for years and years. I think, Red Bull have a bit of stock in F1 Fantasy Tools have a bit of stock in Red Bull, and that's why I really am tempted by them. Maybe not for my Team 1, but as I said about at the start of the stream, Red Bull is an interesting differential. I was talking to Raheem, who finished second in the world last year, just during the week, and he's been Porsche F1 on Twitter, and he's very confident in Red Bull as a constructor, and I think ran them last week as well. Is it worth going Stroll over Bortoletto? Yes, I would go Stroll over Bortoletto. Terminator, I haven't really been across the practice sessions either, to be honest. So let's do that together. So I missed just about all of free practice 1. Not a great session in terms of gauging information for F1 Fantasy, I'll be honest. But I do think there was nothing too surprising, to be completely honest. I thought McLaren, understandably so, were, and deservedly so, have been the strongest team across all 3 sessions. Nothing really surprising there. I think Sainz third, and then Gasly third in FP2. Gasly looks so good with Alpine, hasn't he, lately? They are drivers I'm very much eyeing off in the next few weeks, because the Sainz-Gasly pairing looks very tempting. The fact that the top 6 were all separated by a tenth and a half goes to... again, it's free practice 1, so as Pop Pan Man says, take it with a pinch of salt. But I do think there is... I think there's certainly some excitement maybe for some of these midfield teams. Everyone else, you just can't read into the midfield results the rest of the way down the page in FP1 or in the sims generally, which the practice and race sims I haven't yet talked about in my videos, but I know Rain and Tom were discussing them in their final thoughts last night, and Ferrari looked god awful. Much the same FP2. I think McLaren, again, not much needs to be said there. Gasly, if he wasn't dropping again or likely to drop this week, I'd be very seriously considering the guy, even though he did me dirty in Saudi Arabia. And I just think he is doing so much with that car. It's probably, as I said in my final thoughts video, Alpine's feels like about the 6th or 7th fastest car on the grid. So if Gasly just continues to drive how he's looking in practice, how he looked at the end of last season, I think he's going to be a very popular pick in the middle part of 2025. Max and Yuki doing enough to at least feel like they're on the fantasy periphery. I'm not sold on Tsunoda yet, but I think the Red Bull constructor more so than Yuki, but I think once Yuki's DNF from Saudi drops off, whether that's Monaco or the week after, I'm very much thinking about him. Williams a little bit further down. Ferrari in no man's land, to be honest. And again, just not something that's tempting for me. Midfield's always a crapshoot in practice, so I don't really give that too much stock. And then FP3, which I slept through and only woke up 45 minutes to an hour ago. So you can tell I'm still coming out of my cave, is... again, much the same. McLaren 1-2, Verstappen, Kimi, I needed to see that just to have... It's, again, single lap pace, but the sims or the sims are for the pace, like car performance and such, single lap and long run. At least have Mercedes right up there. All right, back to the chat. I do try and make every effort with answering every question. 10-point penalty to take Hulk over Bortoletto, Damien, I would not be doing that. I wouldn't be taking -10s for midfield drivers, just because it hardly ever pays off, unless there's a DNF, which we can't foresee. And Colapinto, I think, 100% a buy for a lot of people. The window liquor, maybe not for me, Sammy, but I think Lance Stroll certainly has some merit this week. I think if you've got, Mazuris, if you're, I think Alonso into Stroll's a great swap. Gasly versus Sainz. Between the two, Eric, I'm probably going Sainz. I think both are perfectly fine. Is Sainz for Ocon worth it? I don't know. Sainz for Ocon worth it? I think both drivers will go down 0.2 this week. It's a tough one. I've been asked that question before. I don't really have a confident answer. I think Sainz longer term. If you've got transfers, like a luxury set of transfers, then 100% I would mow, but Rakish is in the top 1,000, been playing F1 Fantasy for the past 3 seasons. Previous season finishing the top 10k and 8k. Well done, mate. Keep it up. Great result. Is it worth taking a -20 penalty to change the team? No. I would be thinking, given this current setup of your team, I'd probably look at Williams out. Alpine out, Williams in, and Behrman out, Colapinto in, if you can do that in 2 moves. Stroll's going to be at the back and just coast to a cruisy P16 17 this week. Sainz or Albon for points. If we're talking points specifically, I think it's Sainz, but Albon I think is the better 1-for-1 option. Stroll versus Sainz. Stroll for budget, Sainz for points. If I had to go both, probably this week Stroll. Like 0.6 million is still, I guess Sainz might only go down 0.2. I mean, someone was doing the math, Noah, on this on Twitter the other day for me. And I do think there's, you kind of have to look at it like, if you're looking at someone like Sainz, right, you have to be prepared if you're bringing him this week that he's going to drop 0.2. I think that's the most likely outcome for someone like Carlos Sainz. And look, while I'm talking about this, why don't we go over to the budget builder? So I think someone like Sainz, right, he's going into a low overtake track. I think Williams look great. I think him and Albon are probably somewhere between P6 to P9 this weekend. Their ceiling's probably P6, P5 if they have a really good quality, but I just don't see that happening. And so between Sainz and Stroll, like Sainz obviously, I think he's probably scoring around 10 points. So booking himself in for a 0.2 drop. Stroll, on the other hand, 1 point seems pretty easy. Yes, he comes with a bit of DNF risk. Hasn't had one this season, so I'm going to eat my words. But I do think after 1 week, let's go Imola for Stroll versus Sainz. You're a 0.4 difference between the two. Get to Imola. Sainz's Miami score of 0 is still on his trailing average. So he may well be up for another 0.2 drop. And Stroll's 25 on Miami is still there, so he could be up for another 0.2 rise. So I think after 2 weeks, Sainz might be up 20 points, but you're probably going to be down 0.4 to 0.8 in value. So it just depends what your risk appetite is for budget versus points. Ewan, great to have you here, mate. Great to have you here. I just screamed into the mic. Sorry, everybody. 100 fantasy content creators or 1 gorilla. I did want to put up a poll that was like the video and subscribe, but instead I'm going to do what Ewan's question was. Oh dear, and you can see this again, like this is the problem with just operating on a laptop for this week. Content creators or 1 gorilla. Oh, I spelled that wrong. So I'm going to hide that. Currently 41 in the world. I have a budget of 104 because I didn't know budget building was a thing. Should I go for Stroll, late budget build? I go Stroll, Thibby. What do you think of a -10 to do Hadjar to Colapinto, Alonso to Stroll, and Behrman to Albon? B. Henry, could you do... I think the Alonso to Stroll move makes sense, I guess. Alonso to Stroll and Behrman to... Why do I call him Behrman? Behrman to Albon makes sense. Yeah, I maybe a -10 in that case if you're like at 100 and if you're a little way down. Yeah, I'm fine with that -10, Henry. Yeah, I agree, Ethan. It's going to be very, very straightforward this week. Colapinto Albon, popular. 39% chance of a -6. All right, Red Bull, Mercedes right now, Drew. Hey Rob, what about triple McLaren and Hadjar and Colapinto? Bortoleto kicks out, but triple Oscar, 3x. I wouldn't be using the 3x at IMOLA. The upside's not high enough. You want to be using 3x on a sprint weekend. If you're running kick with Limitless in your mind for Monaco, sure, but I wouldn't be using the 3x this week. I'll miss the deadline. Which one of Stroll or Albon? Albon. My current team is Piastri, Buen, Bortoleto, Duen. So yeah, take Duen out. Hadjar, Behrman, McLaren, Mercedes. I'm going to replace Duen with Colapinto, but I don't know if I want to put Stroll or Sainz in for Behrman. Stroll. Should I hit the no negative or Limitless this week, Carl? Neither. I mean, maybe Limitless, but it just depends on how many budget rises you've got in your team. I'm a beast. I'm taking on that monkey. I'm taking the gorilla too, Ewan. I am 100% taking the gorilla. What are we going to do to defend ourselves against the gorilla? Reel off how many assets are going to rise in price? I don't think the gorilla has any intention of learning about how to optimize his chip strategy heading into the 100 human, 1 gorilla confrontation. How bad is it to use wildcard? I think it's perfectly fine to use wildcard. I'm assuming this is not the real Cristiano Ronaldo. But I think it's fine to use wildcard. It just is, again, I hate the cliche, but team dependent. I'll wait for the F1 Fantasy Tools Gorilla simulations to vote in the poll. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. So, yeah. I can't bring myself to choose Stroll over Albon. Isaac, I'm exactly the same, mate. I'm exactly the same. I think I got lucky. I had Stroll for 3 decent races at the start of the year. And I'm counting my lucky stars. There wasn't a DNF then. I can't bring myself to... Oh, yeah, sorry, I answered that. Sorry. I'm in all sorts. Gasly or Bortoleto? I mean, 1 for 1. I think Gasly's getting... Yeah, I think Bortoleto for this week. Karan. Not by choice. Gasly will 100% score more points than Bortoleto, but Gasly's going to drop 0.6. Borto will just sit at 4.5. Nunya, starting F1 Fantasy this week. How's McLaren, Haas, Piastri, Albon, Colapinto, Behrman, Hadjar? Excellent team. Excellent team. For 100 million, I think that's great. Williams and Russell or Merck and Albon? I'll be going Merck and Albon, Cole, but I think the Williams-Russell lineup's perfectly fine as well. Limitless in Miami successfully, so still on Piastri, Russell, Hadjar, Behrman, Alonso, McLaren, Haas. Think I need to wildcard. Obviously keep Piastri, swap to Mercedes. Yeah, Ollie, I agree. I think the you could go down the Williams route, but that would also mean if you've got Behrman and Alonso and Haas, I'd just wildcard those out. I think that's the right time. And Russell probably seems like a nice time. I think if you're using wildcard, you want to wildcard into a long-term team that's sustainable for points and budget, and that's why I think I wouldn't be wildcarding into like a team with a B tier constructor, because you're naturally going to want to move off them down the line. My team's McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Hadjar, Behrman, Hulk, Bortoletto. Thinking about putting Colapinto instead of Behrman. Yeah, David, I agree with that. Hulkenberg, I think with that team, David, if I had your team, I just roll a transfer to Monaco. Bore it to death with our options for Limitless later in the season. Good God. You're streaming, aren't you? Or in 35 minutes, I'm assuming. I can't remember. I'm not sure if I saw your post because I do see most of them notifications turned on. So I can't remember if I saw the one that you're streaming today or not. But I did see a Q&A during the week. Excellent, as always. So show Ewan some love. Hello to the real Ronnie. Guarantee you, Jay, it's not the real Ronnie. Norris of Verstappen this week. Norris. McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Albon, Colapinto, Bortoletto, Hadjar. Should I swap Hadjar for Stroll? Yeah, 1-for-1 swap. I'd probably go Stroll over Hadjar. I don't think if we go like looking at the budget builder here, I don't think Hadjar goes up in price. I think anyone that owns him has to accept. Like 7 points is not impossible for Isaac. So I'm gonna fix my camera because I'm like the laptop camera is a bit grim today. I think Isaac could probably score about 5 points, but if you own him, I think he's a perfectly fine hold. There will be weekends this season where we have drivers like Isaac Hadjar where they may not even get a 0.2 million rise, but you just got to accept that. That's just going to be one of those weeks. I'm okay. I could honestly move him out for Hulkenberg for free. I honestly feel like the likelihood of Hulkenberg scoring 5 is as much as Hadjar is scoring 7. So take that what you will. Who's better, me or Messi? I'm a Messi fan. You probably don't like to hear that, CR7, but Messi's my goat, unfortunately, for Ronaldo fans. Hamilton looks so depressed. He does, and I think yeah, it's just so telling that there's no confidence in the Ferrari, is there? I'm going to end the poll. There's just no confidence in that Ferrari. It's kind of sad because I was really hoping Ferrari would be a great option this year, not just in F1 Fantasy, but as a contender for the championship. You could go back to my preseason predictions, so off with Ferrari, but I think there was a lot of understandable optimism heading into the new season with Hamilton on the table and talk of this whole new car that would change the game, but it looks like the car's gone the complete opposite direction. Think you've taken -20 so I can get 2 premium constructors in my team. Would you agree that's worth it? Dashing Fox, yes. If you've got wildcard, pull it. If you don't, the gulf between a team with 2 premium constructors and Oscar versus a team with, say, McLaren and Williams is about 15 to 20 points on the Sims. So it probably pays itself off, if not this week, over multiple weeks at least. Gabs, Piastri, Alonso, Bortoletto, Hadjar, Lawson. I'd be moving out Lawson and Alonso. Gabs. How about Piastri, Sainz, Colapinto, Hadjar, Gasly, McLaren, Williams? I think that team looks great in Monaco. I think there's too much risk, though. There's too much risk for potential budget loss from Sainz and Gasly this week. Currently, Patrick has Piastri, Bortoletto, Behrman, Hadjar, Alonso, Mercedes, McLaren. I think that looks great. I'm changing to Mercedes, Williams, and get Albon and Stroll to change Alonso to Colapinto, Stroll. I think that's fine. Patrick. I still like the McLaren Mercedes lineups more than I like any team with Williams. I'm not saying Williams are bad. I think they're perfectly sound. They'll go up 0.6 this weekend. I just got really burnt by B tier constructors last year, or like the bottom tier constructor last year in those first 2 races. So I'm just not giving much thought for my own team. Thoughts on the weather for GP? I haven't looked at it, Patrick, to be honest. I will probably at some point in the next 90 minutes bring up the forecast, but I want to get through a few more questions in the chat. Which reminds me, 1,000 views so far, 300 of you watching at the moment. So thank you again for dropping by, guys. Drop a like on the stream if you haven't done so already. Show some love as always. We'll never ask for donations or anything like that So that's the small compromise I will ask in return. Should I switch Hadjar or Hulkenberg to Colapinto? Yeah, I'd probably switch Hadjar to Colapinto, Nahal. Limitless this weekend? Probably not. Is Triple Williams a good choice? Michael asks. No, I think my thought is like one Williams is probably enough this weekend. It's for me Albon in the meta McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri lineup, or it's the Williams constructor. I wouldn't be tripling up on Williams. I just think it's too much risk in a team that's not even close to a top 3. And speaking of top 3s, I wanted to find this. Lawrence Barretto's simulation and qualifying race. So Mike shared this on Twitter, as in Michael Fearman in the chat. On Twitter, I didn't see it until he posted it. The sim and race base charts from Lawrence Barretto. What have Ferrari done to their car? They have absolutely massacred the thing. 4/10 off pole behind Alpine and Williams. I think this is like the most opportune time for that meme of from The Godfather of look how they've massacred my boy, because this is absolutely dastardly single lap pace from Ferrari. Yes, if we go down to race trim, they're up at 4th. But again, they're not doing themselves any favors. There's only one DRS zone, very few overtakes, and they're on par with Williams. So honestly. So I'm just scrolling here because I'm reading this properly for the first time. Car performance. So yeah, Ferrari are dreadful in the slow speed corners. We already knew that. They're solid on the straights. Yeah, so essentially McLaren are the benchmark. There's nothing really other than Ferrari's dreadful gap to McLaren, much to glean from these charts. But given that single lap pace is important and will be even more so next week. Oh my days. Ferrari. What is going on? All right, so back to my team. Hardly talked about my team, and we're 30 minutes in. Back to the chat too. To get Mercedes on my team, I'll have to take a -10. Is it worth it? I think so. Current team: Piastri, Bortoleto, Behrman, Alonso, Hadjar. I think I answered that. Manasvi. Maybe I didn't. I'd get Mercedes. I'd get Ferrari out. Manasvi. Can you get to McLaren, or is your budget kind of stretched? I just don't think Ferrari are going to do too much this weekend. That's the problem. Excuse me. 6 hours of sleep. Yikes. Reza, current team, Ferrari, Mercedes. Yeah, I just think Ferrari, if you've got Ferrari in the team, they should be a priority transfer. Get McLaren in, yeah, and then I'd probably downgrade Ocon and Behrman to Colapinto, Reza. Just try and enable the upgrade to McLaren. Should I take the -10 for Bortoleto, Colapinto, Albon? I wouldn't be taking -10s, Felix, for midfield drivers. Unless, of course, you've got 3 drivers that are all going to go down 0.6, in which case it probably is. Thumbs up or DNF risk? Thanks, Mike. So many Mercedes sellers this week. I'm interested in a lot of people moving to Williams. Interesting. Have you ever placed a bet on F1? I have. I probably punted a couple times. I can't remember what though. It would have been years ago. I'm not someone that really dabbles in gambling. Should I take a wild card or a -10 this weekend? Charlie, it depends, mate. Depends on your team. I think if you're, like I said before, I wouldn't be taking -10 for 3 midfield drivers in and 3 midfield drivers out. But if you're like moving from McLaren, from like a midfield constructor to Mercedes, I think that's fine. If you're going the other way from like Mercedes to Williams, I probably wouldn't be doing that. Is it worth switching out Antonelli for Russell? Yeah, -10, like 1-for-1, sure. I don't know. I don't think so. Not this week, Safina. Reed, how are you, mate? Jeremy, good to see you in the chat. Who's going triple kick? Who's going triple kick? Not I. Not I. Top 4 global team. Ideas to build budget quick over this week and next. Favorite budget building options this week and next. Colapinto, Stroll, Albon, Bortoletto. They're my favorite budget building options this week. Probably talk about my team. I'll race through a couple more questions and we'll talk. Williams, would you take a -10 to change Ferrari for Mercedes? Yes, I probably would. Discuss your moves. What do you think? Yamil, great suggestion. I'm going to get into my team in just a second. That's why I have to do 2 hours of these streams, because I spend so much time. It's not a bad thing. I love answering questions. I'm not even sure if I get all the questions right, but yeah. I want to make sure I give enough time to doing my own teams and also answering all of your concerns and queries. Best wildcard team? My team. F1 Fantasy Tools said there's new sims. Thanks, Ali. I think we'll probably say something in the next 30 to 60 minutes. All right, let's talk about my team. 36 minutes in, we have not even given it a minute of thought. So before, in these 2 slots, I had Alonso and Behrman, both of which DNF'd in Miami. So the situation I'm faced with is, with 3 transfers handy in the top right-hand side of the screen here, what to do. I definitely think there's 2 locks for me. And we'll talk about in the next kind of 10 to 15 minutes, while also trying to cover off questions at the same time, is, I hope I just moved my screen so I can see the live chat. Yep, I did. So we'll go through the McLaren Mercedes Piastri lineup. We'll go through a McLaren Red Bull Piastri lineup, a Williams lineup, and a Kick Sauber lineup. Let's quickly start with the Kick Sauber lineup, because I have no intention of talking about that for very long. I'm not sure it's viable this week or over multiple weeks, but I do want to give it some airtime because there have been people that are very much considering it. So I think it depends on your transfers. I wouldn't be taking hits for a Kick Sauber lineup simply because you're going to have to move them out again down the line. But I think with this lineup, it's pretty easy to get to Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri with 8.8 on the table. Depending on your team, again, some people might have a wild card. Again, wouldn't be using a wild card to get to kick. You'd probably be wanting to use a wild card to get out of kick. I don't hate this kind of lineup for a kick lineup. I can just afford it. Some people may not. It also takes quite a few transfers, which is why I don't like it personally. But if you're going for a lineup like this, you have to put the 2x DRS boost on Lando Norris. I just don't see a reason to own Lando Norris if you're not 2xing him, because you get a constructor like Mercedes, like Red Bull, even Ferrari, for goodness sake, for a much more affordable price for just as much, if not more, fantasy production. And so what's the point of owning an asset that's 30.4 million if you're not doubling their points, right? Yes, Piastri seems to be in better form, has a bit more momentum behind him, but personally, I just think you have to, if you're going down Lando Norris, you have to use him as a differential 2x option to justify the price you pay to own him. But otherwise, like, why wouldn't you? Like, you can get Mercedes in and have more money to spend. It's budget building, yes, I understand that, but for 0.3 more, I'm not so sure it's worth it. So that's my 2 cents on Kick Sauber. Let's go to Williams now. A lineup I've toyed with a little bit. Most people are probably going down this kind of route where you've got Franco Colapinto. I think this slot here, whether it's Hulkenberg, whether it's Ocon, whoever it might be, Hadjar, I think that slot doesn't really matter to me. It's, again, similar to how I would look at a Sauber lineup, yes, Williams I think are good, but I do look at Mercedes as having slightly better qualifying upside, and obviously going back to the qualifying simulation pace, Mercedes are right there with Red Bull, a tenth away from McLaren. Williams are 3/10 single lap pace. So for that reason, you'd have to expect Sainz and Albon to have an absolute blinder in Imola and Monaco. Again, I think it's probably a budget building element, and with Limitless on the cards for several in Monaco, then I think carrying a BT constructor to grow your budget over consecutive weeks is fine. But for this week, at least, and if you're not, I wouldn't be going a BT constructor if you're not using Limitless in the next 2 weeks. Put it that way. That's kind of that's my 2 cents. Don't go down a BT constructor route if you're not planning to use Limitless in Monaco. I think doesn't make sense in terms of the qualifying upside and how difficult it is to overtake. So like, let's say for example, Sainz and Albon are around like 7th to 10th in qualifying. They're going to be pretty hard pressed to make it any further up the grid, let alone at a track that doesn't actually have much forgiveness for overtakes. But if you are fixated or you're very confident on going down the Williams route, then this is probably the team I would think about. I think it's got a nice balance of your Piastri, McLaren, George Russell, definitely the most improved in terms of the top teams. I think one of the most consistent drivers up there. He's been on the podium several times. He's the most podium driver behind Oscar and Lando this season. So I think George is a perfectly fine option here. 0.1 rise is the only thing you obviously need to be cognizant of. He won't be going up the full 0.3 like Oscar and Lando probably will this week. And then we're now talking more about premium constructors. This is probably one of 2 routes I'm most thinking about for my team personally, the Red Bull constructor. And why do I say that? Because they have looked, I wouldn't say like by any means dominant, but Yuki and Max for the most part have been in the mix in all 3 free practice sessions. This is the Max Verstappen stronghold. He's won 2024, 2022 and 2021. He had pole the last 2 years. And that was when last year McLaren were the best car as well, when Lando was, 7/10 at the checkered flag from Max. So I think Max, you can't back against the guy. It's a Max Verstappen track, just like Japan was, and he did really well there. So I think there's an argument for sure to have Red Bull this weekend. How I'd fill out the rest of this team. My team too has enough budget to get to this. I can't. I'm 0.2 short to... I could do this potentially because I would have already had Hadjar in here. I could do this in 3 moves: Colapinto, Albon. If you have the budget to get to this lineup, I'm a fan. This is what my team 2 is. Albon would be in this 4th slot. You could also put Lance Stroll in as well if you're a little bit constrained on budget. And so for that reason, I think this is perfectly fine. Nice little budget building option. Again, Monaco, Max is decent at qualifying. You probably want to hold Red Bull for a couple of weeks at least to obviously justify owning them. I wouldn't be taking -10s for this lineup though. I just don't feel like the next couple of weeks are -10 circuits because there's fewer points on the table, and so it's much lower the likelihood of having those hits paid off. I'm going to run back to the chat before we talk about the Mercedes lineup that I'm currently on and most likely will move forward with. It's Dan2310. Thoughts on Sainz? Sorry if you already answered. I think Sainz is a wait and see for 1 more week. Should I take a -10, Felix? I think I answered that. I wouldn't say wouldn't be taking -10s for midfield drivers. Who would you choose between Hadjar and Hulk when thinking about budget for a limitless next race? Probably tough one. Probably Hulk. Fish paralysis. Joe Pesci saying, "What the F is this piece of..." Except it's Lewis. Yeah, it's actually quite funny. How is Sainz looking to rise in price at Monaco? He may not. That's the thing. He may not. My team... Piastri, Russell, Behrman, Hadjar, Zared. I'll be moving out V-Cub if you can. If you can't get to Mercedes and in 2 moves as your second constructor, I'd probably go to Williams this week and then move out Behrman to Colapinto. Let's talk about your moves. Yeah, that's, I think, what I was doing. Hassel Williams. Would you take a -10 to switch from Norris to Piastri? No, I would not. What about triple McLaren with Aston Martin? Wouldn't be going near Aston Martin. Stephanie? Just not reliable enough at the moment. Is it worth using Limitless if Behrman is the only asset dropping in price? Yes. If you've only got one asset dropping in price, likely to drop in price, then I myself would be thinking about Limitless. In honor of it being an Italian race, I got a question. Pizza or pasta? Pizza. Pineapple on pizza. I think I had this as a poll, but call me a heathen. I'm a huge pizza on pineapple on pizza guy. Pizza on a pineapple would be bloody weird. For what it's worth, the weather in Monaco looks good next week. Well, that's great, Mike, because I don't think anyone needs any more fear of what to expect on a Limitless weekend. Sonoda, I'm not sure about him. Yeah, I get that. But he's also had a couple of dodgy... I try and look at it from the lens, CB, of past performance is not always 100% the best indicator of future performance. Yes, I think form and confidence have a say for sure in how a driver performs. But Yuki has in practice been, and in qualifying too, been kind of in and around the top 8. I'm sure he's due a top 6 qualifying result. Could be this track, could be Monaco. So, look, I'm thinking about Red Bull. I'm not saying it's the right week, but I'm saying Red Bull constructor is probably my next favorite behind Mercedes for this weekend. Aren't you worried about Max crashing with the McLarens? No. If we saw anything in Miami last week, like Max will overextend, he'll run off the track, or he'll make a mistake, particularly when fighting with Oscar. Oscar's a very sensible driver. And look, everyone owns McLaren constructor, everyone owns Oscar Piastri, so it's like, even if Max crashes with them, the rank hit's not going to be terrible. When would you recommend Limitless? This weekend if you've got no price fallers, Clara. Otherwise, Monaco, Hungary, maybe Spa. Deciding between Oscar and Kick, Albon Williams. I'd probably go Albon Williams. Ashit. Pineapple on pizza is a crime. Pops. Yeah, I'm going to jail. Put me in handcuffs. Controversial opinion, I know. Maybe that's I don't know. I feel like it's a big thing in Australia, which is where I grew up. And so, yeah. But is pizza on a pineapple a crime? Like, no. So I'm just rambling now. So yeah, Michael, back to you, my friend. On this question, wouldn't we prefer Mercedes over RB the next couple of weeks if we had to take Stroll? Yeah, no, I agree. Stroll's obviously a huge risk. And hang on, is this my second? So this is my second team. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, so this is my second team. I could get to this for a hit because I've already made my 2 transfers. It was Colapinto in, Mercedes, Behrman out. I could get to this for a hit. This is what I'd be running this week, I think, as a little bit of a differential if I could. Which is why it's a team 2, but I can't get to Albon without a hit, and I'm not sure that's worth it. Ocon to Albon. I'll be a hindsight merchant on Sunday after Ocon's DNF'd and Albon's podiumed. Speaking of podiums, did anyone see Tom Bellingham or Grace, his daughter's prediction? The Alpine double podium and a Stroll P3. Stroll masterclass. That would have been pretty funny if it happened. It will not, though. It will not. Williams look good, yes. Do they look good for fantasy? Yes. Will I have them in my team? No. What's the differentials this weekend? The differentials this weekend, I think a Red Bull constructor. Honestly, Colapinto, what's his ownership? 8%. Wow, that's flown up. Yeah, everyone will be owning Colapinto this week. I think he's still a differential for sure. Colapinto is still a differential, in my opinion. We will see, because I think he is far and away one of, if not the best asset to own, just because of his low price, his budget upside, and enabling ability for other premium assets. We will see, based on his ownership at the end of the weekend, how many engaged people are actually playing the game. Because 10%, let's say his ownership's 10% of 2 million teams, 200,000 teams, right? So it'll be interesting to see what his ownership base is after the weekend. Williams look good? They do. I answered that. Jack, thank you for the love, my friend. What's your logic between budget builder after getting after points? Do you take it week by week, or is there a threshold where you recommend going for points? I think there's a yes, and I'll go back to the Merc lineup. I think there's a threshold, Jack, to your question for sure, or like a juncture for sure as to when the best time is to focus on pure points. I think for me personally, there's going to be almost no weekend throughout the entire 24 race calendar where we go into a weekend and we suddenly go for, unless it's maybe the last couple of weekends of the season. Very rarely do I expect to go into a weekend where I'll be targeting an asset that's guaranteed a $0.6 million price drop. And I say that because 0.6 is still not a small amount of money. And if it's like, I'm just trying to think of an example here. If it's 1 week between gaining 0.6 versus losing 0.6, which would be a $1.2 million swing to get an extra premium driver into my team in like the third last race of the season, I'm absolutely going to chance my hand with just preserving value or increasing value for an extra week, even if the driver that's going to drop 0.6 million is expected to score 15 points. I think the mentality will certainly change when we get to the 3x chip use, because that's when, for the last 3 sprints of the season, people will want to have budget to afford a Piastri Norris or Piastri Russell with 2 premium constructors. But right now, I think there's always and still will be an element of focusing on budget. You watch every content creator, Ewan, Rain, Adam, Zach, who am I forgetting? Tom. Any one of their videos, you will see them focus on the top 3 to 4 drivers in the B tier almost every week in terms of a discussion point. Seldom do we, if at all, ever see anyone talk about the drivers in the bottom 4, bottom 5. And I think that reason is, or I think that kind of indication is very much a sign of the times, and that budget building will still be a focal point of our fantasy decisions most race weeks. Back to my team. So that's probably my lineup. This is probably my lineup this weekend, at the moment at least. Again, I haven't really been paying too much attention to Twitter. Haven't been paying too much attention to what's making headlines, but I will go quickly on the other window. Just want to check my notifications. Usually Medland, or there's usually some updates from journos, F1 journos on news, but there isn't really much I can see right now. 460 of you watching, 500 of you watching, 119 likes on the stream. Please do drop a like, guys, as always. I'll probably only plug this once every 20 to 30 minutes on the stream, but again, thank you for watching the stream. It's just me talking nonsense to a camera for 2 hours. So if you can put up with that, then I praise you. So yeah, this is my team on screen. Get to a few more questions in the chat. Do I still live in Australia? Not at the moment. No, I'm in the US for work. Pizza and pineapple is even worse. Oh yeah, that's it. Would you go Albon or Sainz? Matt, I'd be going Albon this weekend. All good, brother. Choice between Yuki and Albon. Who are you picking? Albon. Colapinto driver of the day? Maybe. If Antonelli has a good race, if Antonelli's top 5, 100% he gets driver of the day with that Italian fan base. I mean, we saw him get driver of the day. Was it in China? He drove a nothing race. Why Red Bull over Mercedes? I rewind 10 to 15 minutes, Martin, I'd say. Or maybe, did I even give you proper reasons? Maybe not. Reasons why I like Red Bull. Max Verstappen, very good. Yuki Tsunoda, been pretty consistent. He's been building towards something. I mean, I'm not expecting Yuki to podium, but if he finishes in the top 7, they're honestly on balance probably the next best constructor behind McLaren, unless Mercedes obviously do something. Price. So yeah, I think Red Bull for me. I still think I prefer Mercedes. They're just very reliable and consistent, and they're a template pick. I think the other thing, I haven't really talked about this much at all this season. I guess this is only the top 500 or even the Patreon. Let's go to the Patreon 500 because I much prefer this as a yardstick. Global 500 are people who have burnt all of their chips, so not a great use of their strategy. Patreon 500 is that kind of engaged subset of F1 fantasy tools. And talking about ownership specifically for McLaren and Mercedes, these are the two most highest owned constructors among engaged managers. I'd say that holds for the top 5,000, top 50,000 engaged managers, top 100,000 engaged managers. These would be the two most owned constructors. And so I'm more inclined to take a risk with a driver as opposed to a constructor, because if things go very pear-shaped for an asset that's going to score the bulk of your points, or should score the bulk of your points. So say, for example, you had Red Bull instead of Mercedes here. If Red Bull DNF'd and Mercedes had 60 points, that's probably like a 30 to 40 point swing. As opposed to a driver, let's say you went for argument's sake, you went for Sainz and he had a DNF. There's probably 20 points in it. Like, the math is, as Ewan likes to call it, loosey-goosey, but I just think there's slightly better points. Preservation is the wrong word, but I think your points base and your rank preservation is much safer going for two highly owned constructors than it would be going for a midfield driver, for example. Again, I'm probably not explaining it very well, and there are, let's call it analysts or very educated, intelligent individuals in the F1 Fantasy Tools Discord that could articulate it better, but I'm more inclined to take a risk on a midfield driver than I am on a constructor. All right, back to the chat. I think I have missed a few questions, so I'm going to get through every single one. Choice between Yuki and Albon. Albon, Color Pinto driver of the day. Answered that. Probably not. Red Bull over Mercedes. I think Mercedes, even though I think I gave my arguments for why I like Red Bull. Russell or Mercedes? Mercedes. Sorry, Vex. I skipped over your question 3 times. I'm sorry. No. Like, if I've missed your question, please put it in the chat. Like, I genuinely mean it, that I want to answer as many questions that you guys have asked. So I do apologize if I've missed it. So Vex, the question was, oh my goodness me, I've lost the question again. Piastri, Russell, Hadjar, Bam, Alonso, Haas, McLaren. What would you do? Kind of in a bind, 3.5 in the bank. For 2 transfers, Vex, I would be going Mercedes. I'd almost consider taking a -10. Moving out for that lineup. Vex, I'd probably go for Williams this week, because you're then going down. You want to move out Bam and Alonso. I think they're priority transfers. I think you've also got to deprioritize Haas. I think the time to bin off Haas assets is right now. So I would be looking at Williams constructor for your team, and then Color Pinto, and then whatever you can afford. What will you do with 4.5 million on the screen? Well, I'm spending it now. So yeah. Kimi, driver of the day, maybe a differential. Potentially, yeah. If I had 3 DNFs, I wouldn't be using Limitless in IMOLA. If you do want to use Limitless, I'd be going triple McLaren, max triple Mercedes. Maybe Sonoda as a differential over Kimi. What would you do? Autopilot with Lando, Oscar, Kick. I think there are better weekends for Autopilot, Ivan. Need -10 to go for this team. If it's the one on screen you're talking about, Gonzalo, I'd say it's worth it. Mercedes or Red Bull? Mercedes. Piastri will have a gearbox change. Is that true? Are we sure that's true? Would you go Hulkenberg if you could afford it over Bortoletto? I could afford it. I just don't want to. I think because I'm positioning for Limitless, so I don't want Hulkenberg, who may risk dropping in value. Maybe not this weekend. Bluestone Lane or Burke Street Bakery, Lamingtons. I think Peter Bluestone, in my honest opinion, is not that good in New York. Really not that good. I don't even know if there are Bluestone locations elsewhere in the world, but they are. I don't rate the coffee at Bluestone. Burke Street's great. As for Lamington specifically, if it's a Lamington from Coles or Woolworths, I'd eat a Lamington. Doesn't matter where. Replace Ocon or Hadjar. Ocon. I'm curious about this gearbox change because I don't know if there's any truth to this. I'm not going to say anything more to mislead anyone, but I'm not seeing anything on. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on Piastri. So 450 legends in the live chat. We love to see it. We absolutely love to see it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're having a great Saturday. I really do. What's better than kicking off your Saturday than listening to me ramble on about F1 fantasy? Going Limitless in Monaco, Albon or Stroll? Albon. Thank you, Martins. I appreciate the love, my friend. Who would you dump for Imola? Alonso or Behrman? Probably Alonso. Can you say hi to my girlfriend, Sarah? Hey, Sarah. Hope you're having a superb Saturday with Trevor. Would you go Stroll over Hadjar? Yeah, I probably would actually, if you could afford it. But there's what, a $4.2 million gulf between the stroller coaster and Hadjar. In a vacuum, 1-for-1, I'd be going Stroll. Stroll over Albon for budget gain. Yes, for budget gain solely, but I think I like Albon more. Likelihood of an Albon prize rise next race, I think it's possible. Yeah. I think 0.2 is very much within reason. I don't think the gearbox change is true. I don't think I've seen nothing yet. The group chat for my mates back in Sydney is blowing up. Pineapple on pizza. Bit late to the chat, Finno. Bit late to the chat. Didn't I do the pineapple on pizza thing 10 minutes ago? I think the gearbox thing for Piastri is nothing. It's absolute nonsense. All right, who else have we got? What other questions? Jeremy, Piastri, Alonso, Ocon, Behrman, Hadjar, McLaren. Mate, I should be taking advice from you, Jeremy. What are you, like top 3K in the world or something? I think Alonso, Behrman, like you and I, both be ditching them this week. Colapinto, Albon. Yeah, I saw nothing either, Paul. Nothing on FIA documents either. I think it's all nonsense. Ignore what was being said. I think it's all misleading. Glad I can help, Trevor. Hope you're having a great Saturday, mate. Colapinto, Albon is best. I think it's my favorite pairing. I wouldn't be against the idea of using 3 transfers for this weekend, but I do love the flexibility. If for whatever reason things are terrible this weekend with DNFs or whatever, and I don't think, I'm not putting that into the universe, but I think it'll be I think this is my favorite lineup for my transfers available. Nico, how are you, mate? Hope you're having a superb Saturday. Oh, Omid, you're a legend. Yes. Again, I wouldn't say I'd plug this more than every 20 minutes, but 150 likes on the stream, 450 legends of you in the chat. Drop a like on the video if it's not too much of a hassle. Do a poll on favorite corner names. Surely Aqua Minerale clears all. I don't even know all of the corner names in, so I'm going to move the mic so I can, pardon the pun, I'm going to move them. It didn't disconnect, did it? No, it didn't. I don't even know how many corner names do I know off the top of my head? Ravazza, Aqua Minerale. I only know 2. No, I know there's a third one. Um, no, no, I'm thinking bus stops. Not bus stops in Spa. I don't even know that many. I'm kind of disappointed because I was playing IMOLA on F123 the other day, and I only know off the top of my head. I only know Ravazza and Aqua Minerale, but I think Aqua Minerale is probably my favorite corner name on the entire F1 calendar. What are the other ones? Because I was talking to my mate about it last night. Toza? Oh, Piratella. That was the one I was thinking of. Piratella. There's another one's like Variante something or another. Stroll Signs? Stroll for this week. Tamburello, of course. Yeah, Tamburello. That's the one. Tamburello. You're right, Snivens. Tamburello. Yeah. Piratella. Yeah, so Piratella, Aqua Minerale, Ravazza. Yeah. Okay. All right, Mike. I'll appease you. Favorite corner at Imola. I'm probably going to mess up the spelling as well. But add option. What were the ones I'm just going to steal yours, Mike. Piratella. And Tamburello. Did I even spell that right? No, I'm having a Tamburello. That's the one. Yeah. Cool. Start poll. Apologies if I misspelled any of the turns. Aqua Minerale is my favorite by a country mile, though. Variante Alta, yeah. Ran out of options. Stroll of Signs. I think I said Stroll, didn't I? Should I take the -10 to get rid of Behrman and get a Mercedes? Derpy cake? Yeah, I would do that, mate. Should I keep Russell on my team or should I remove him? Depends who for, Sumil. Probably if you're moving Russell out, I'd bring in Mercedes if you don't own him already. I'm assuming you don't own him. Variante Alta. Should I... Variante Alta. Yeah, I missed that one. Yeah, I spelt it wrong. I know. Should I just close the poll? I think I answered your question, Sumil. Oh, God. Should I end the poll and start it again? It's Ravazza. I know. I'm illiterate. I'm an illiterate POS. I cannot spell these turns for the life of me. I've absolutely butchered. Yes, I know. Thanks, Mario. Thank you for the reminder. Back to some more questions, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Kaveri, I can't play your video at work, so I'm on chat. If you can't play my video at work, how can you hear me then? Piastri, Piastri, Ocon, Behrman, Hadjar, Alonso, Mercedes, McLaren. Do I wildcard to replace the 4? I think so. Move out Alonso, move out... Wait, replace the 4? I'd probably take a -10 for... I'd take out Alonso and Behrman for Stroll and for Albon and Colapinto if you can afford it. Kaveri? I'm going to close the poll because I'm embarrassed of how badly I butchered the spelling of those turns. And I think even though Aqua Minerale had the highest vote for only 80 people, I was more embarrassed by the fact I butchered it. Price walls. I don't know. What do price walls mean, Yusuf? Do you mean price floor? I'm not sure what you mean by price wall. Unless I've misunderstood the question. My team is identical to that, AJ. If you're talking about my team on screen, then I love this team. I think if you've got something like this already, then Hadjar's probably the only other gaping hole in this team, but I'm probably going to hold him for one more week. Who would you 2x in Limitless? And if you're going Limitless this weekend, Yusuf, I'd 2x Norris and I'd probably put in Red Bull. Can't afford Albon, who's a good replacement. Stroll. All right, Reed, what's your question, mate? What do you think between switching Alonso, Ocon, Behrman for Colapinto, Albon, Bortoleto for -10? I think it's fine. -10. I think again, like -10's a bit of a hard one for midfield drivers, but I guess there's so many dropping in value. There's obviously that fine line between preserving budget versus points. I just think it's very hard. Like -10 for midfield drivers very rarely pay off, even if it means eating a price drop. So I'd probably hold Ocon out of those three and just get in Colapinto and Albon if you can. I wouldn't be wildcarding in Williams constructor either. Is it bad having both Williams drivers and the constructor? I'd probably go, as I said before, Orlando, either Albon or the Williams constructor. I wouldn't be doing both, and I certainly wouldn't be tripling up. When do you plan to use the 3x DRS boost? Stephanie, I'll be using that in one of the last 3 sprint races of the year. Okay, time to race through a few more. When should I use no negative? Wait for Brazil, Demantis, or a wet race? Australia and Miami, 2 great indicators of risky races with bad weather. So hold it for a wet race or one of the later sprints. Now, same apart from Albon, who I can't afford. Snivens, I'd be going Stroll if you can't afford Albon. I think I answered that before, though. Would you take a -10 to get Bortoletto in for Alonso? Yeah, go on. I think this -10 business it's tough. I think it's a decision that naturally comes down to, I think if you're very low on budget, like if you're under 107 million, I'd be taking -10s. Not multiple. I'd be taking, like the example Jay's provided in the chat. I'd be thinking about moving out a budget for like Behrman or Alonso for Bortoletto, who won't drop in value. Is it worth keeping Haas or taking -10 for Sauber for budget? I mean, how are Haas going? Yeah. Haas will probably score more than 9 points this week. So I think hold Haas for one more week. Otherwise, wildcard if you can. Michael McKinnon, to answer your question. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it, mate. I'd say final fix. I don't think using it on Doohan's the wisest use of the chip. Yeah, again, if you're referring, Joe, to my example I made in my team selection video, that was only on the proviso that that Colapinto was like 5.5 million, which turned out not to be the case. So that strategy is just kind of in the bin. I wouldn't wait for FP3 sims either, Felix. We've got like 45 minutes until the deadline. So at this point, I just focus on what we do know and what we do have. All right. When am I thinking of using Limitless? Ali, did I not say that? Probably Monaco, Hungary, or Spa. Okay, to answer Aiden and Zachary's questions, McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Ocon, Bortoletto, Hadjar, Behrman have 2 transfers. I'd move out Ocon and I'd move out Behrman for Colapinto and whoever you can afford between Stroll and Albon. Mercedes, Doohan, Behrman for Williams, Colapinto, Albon. I'd be moving out Matthew, just Doohan and Behrman. I wouldn't move out Mercedes. If I have Max, would it be better to keep or trade for Piastri? I have some damage control, so it would need a -10, but it would also mean Albon instead of Stroll. Yeah, Thomas, I think that's fine, mate. I'd get Piastri in over Max this weekend. I think Max is fine, but Piastri is a much better option. Stroll instead of Sainz? Yes, Ashley. Stroll instead of Sainz. Ross, to answer your question, Piastri, Colapinto, Albon, Hadjar, Bortoletto, McLaren, Mercedes, 2.6, Limitless in Monaco. I honestly think that's a perfectly fine team, Ross. That's the team I will have this weekend, most likely. Sims are out. Yoo-hoo. Sims are out. And over to the team calculator we go. I don't think there's going to be much change, though. I really don't. FP3 sims. McLaren, Red Bull, still the highest. I think Mercedes have dropped down a couple of points, if I recall correctly. It does have Red Bull as the constructor here. What kind of narrative are they pushing? What kind of narrative? All right, so for my team, I'm going to take out any driver likely to fall in value this week, just so it doesn't get caught up in the simulations. Okay, so take out Yuki for one more week. Wow, okay. It really is pushing the... Okay, I'm going to take out Sainz because he's not on the table for me this weekend. If he was, then Red Bull look very good. But as you can see here, as soon as I click the red button and take out signs, all of them pivot to Mercedes, and all of them go down. I should also probably pre-select Colapinto, because he has to come into my team. So yeah, the two transfers I'm suggested to make are Albon, Colapinto. Yeah. I could go Hulkenberg too, but... So yeah, my budget's not that great. 109. Would have liked it. They got really hit for 6 in China and last week, hey. And asks Albon and Hadjar or Stroll and Ocon. Albon, Hadjar. I think, yeah. Hold house for one more week and roll a transfer, or get Mercedes now. I'd get Mercedes now, Sarah. Cam Chronicles, I would be using your wildcard, brother. I wouldn't be taking a -20. So, yeah, the Sims. What do the Sims say? I don't think there's really much new information here. I could obviously, let's see. So we've got, let's just see what the difference is. So yeah, the top 5 unchanged. I think Mercedes went down maybe 1.5 points, if I'm not mistaken, between FP2 and FP3. If I was to, let's reset these filters here. If I was to force include Williams, what does that spit out? I don't want these budget fallers. Let's take these geezers out. Let's take out Ocon, take out Sainz. I mean, Sainz is fine. I just don't know if he's on. Doesn't really make sense for me this week. So yeah, this Williams team, these Williams teams are probably my pick of the bunch. The Russell one, I think a lot of people watching this could probably afford, but that Antonelli, yeah, perfectly fine. But that's yeah. What if I force included? I guess. If I force included Red Bull, it's about 6 points less. So so 196 for a one, let's call it 1 million price gain. 196 on 1. If I include Red Bull, 190 on less than 1. So I think Mercedes this week feels like the right move for my team, budget and points wise, based on what we know. Of course, based on what we know. 45 minutes out from the deadline, ladies and gentlemen. Hope your Sundays and Saturday, for that matter, I should be saying, is spent well. We've got 450 of you legends, 2,700 views so far in the last hour and a quarter. Would love to get up to 200 likes. Would love to get up to 200 likes. Unfortunately, I didn't and probably won't be losing my collective mind this stream because there is no rain, there is no DNF on the lap to the grid, there is no risk or chip strategy in mind. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. But, excuse me. So yeah, the stream is by no means as chaotic as it was in Miami. I think also, just my opinion, whenever there's a 2-week break between races, F1 Fantasy kind of loses its momentum a little bit. I almost worry that with the break, the week off, people just disengage. I think that's perfectly fine. Don't get me wrong. I love to have a break as well, but very noticeable that the following stream, the following week's videos always seem to be a little less robust in terms of viewer engagement. That's fine. I'm not here for the views. I'm just here for talking to a camera for 2 hours. How's that mic? It's all right. Okay, back to more questions. Sorry, I'm scrolling up here. Post FP3 Sims is out. Yep, I did that. Good luck, everyone. Thank you, Hector. I wonder if hot weather, tire risk for Mercedes. I'm not reading into it too much, Ali. I think there's understandably some concern for tires for Mercedes just based on what we saw last year, but it doesn't again strike me as bad of an issue. I mean, I'm sure there's still thoughts around whether or not Mercedes actually do hit their optimum performance window in cooler climates versus the heat, but I don't think it's as big of a deal. Red Bull or Mercedes for this week, just because I think it's you can do more with less money. Someone mentioned Limitless in Imola, and you responded something similar to Price Walls. Sorry, Yusuf. I think I meant I must have mispronounced or not enunciated. I think it was probably because I said price floor, as in Colapinto and Bortoletto are at the price floor, so they cannot change in value. And that's why having those two assets on a limitless weekend is probably favourable. All right, Hulk versus Bortoletto, Jack. I'd probably go Bortoletto for people on limitless teams. And if you're chasing budget or you need to increase your team value, then I'd go Hulkenberg. Behrman or Sainz? Sainz, probably, Matthew. Hope you're having a great long weekend in New Zealand, Jeremy. Do you think I should wildcard the above? Harry asks. Piastri, Behrman, Ocon. So you got Behrman, Ocon, Alonso. Potentially. I'd probably get in like Albon, Colapinto, Bortoletto, like for -10. Depends if you think -10 or if you think wildcard's going to be more valuable later in the season, then I'd take a -10. I haven't taken a -10 this season, I don't think. Yeah, I know. The simulator is. I guess I have the FP2 sims up, don't I? Yeah. I had them up. I had the FP3 sims up before. So yeah, that's what my team's. Behrman and Sainz. Did say Sainz, Matt. Yeah. Feels like RBR's constructor is just basically Max. Yeah, Max carries. Hey, Max does carry. I mean, honestly, give Tsunoda a few weeks. I think he'll be fine. I think, Red Bull, to me, could be the second best constructor if Tsunoda gets up to speed soon enough. Rowan asks, would you swap Norris for Piastri for a -10 to get to Piastri and Albon instead of Norris and Bortoletto? I actually don't mind that, Rowan. Is it for a -10? I'd probably wait one more week because Piastri and Norris is going to be the same, production-wise at least. Albon, I don't think, outscores Bortoletto by more than 10 points. No worries, Harry. Happy to help. Sumil, your current team, Piastri, Russell, Behrman, Alonso, Hadjar, Constructors, Mercedes, Haas. So for that, Sumil, I'd be getting in McLaren. Probably you'd want to look at moving off Russell, Behrman, Alonso, and Haas. Could you take a -10? Just overhaul it. Bring in. I think you have to have McLaren, Sumil. Like they are like the best constructor in the game. They're the best, one of the best assets in the game. Cooper, I wouldn't be going. I know that's not as in Rams Cooper Cup, but I wouldn't be using your wildcard to move into a kick lineup. I'd be using it if you had a kick lineup in 2 weeks still and you wanted to get out of it to use the wildcard. But I personally wouldn't be using wildcard to get into kick because you're going to be taking -10s after 2 weeks to get out of them. In a pool that is more point conscious than budget, should I use Limitless in a sprint race? Not necessarily, because we've seen that you can score higher. Sorry, not like pure points, but the delta between Limitless and non-Limitless teams, Crazy Canuck, is going to be more often than not better on non-sprint weekends. So a sprint race is not necessarily the best time not necessarily the best time to use Limitless. Keep Lawson or Behrman. I'd sell both, Marshall. If you had to keep one, I'd keep Behrman. But like again, they're both going to drop 0.6, so it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I just think the Haas car is better. 108.3 went off screen there. 3 changes. I think I'd just move out Behrman, mate. Behrman and I think you're missing a driver as well, Amar. Is it okay to have 0.1 million left after picking a team? Yeah, of course. I have like 2 million this week. I'll go back to my team. That's likely what my team's going to be this week. I'm probably going to lock in soon as well. Haven't seen any news on the other screen. I'm just checking again. There's like no... I honestly wonder if... Popper Man, as in Tom, is at the Crystal Palace City FA Cup game. He's up the Eagles. He's having an absolute blast. Okay. Yeah, Amar, I'd probably move out Ocon in that case. What was the rest of your team? Did I miss it? I cannot see. I hate having a single screen for these streams. Oh, drop Ocon. Yeah, I'd drop Ocon and Behrman, Amar. Would you take Hulk over... Who's LA? Lance? I'd take Lance over Hulk this week. Or Lawson, you mean? Hulk, yeah, I'd take Hulk over Lawson, Matty. Okay, Samil, ease up on the caps lock messages, please. I'd move out Russell for Mercedes constructor. Choose RBR. It stings me. That's kind of why. I guess I've got Red Bull on my team too, but not fully convinced I want them for my team one until such time that there's a noticeable shift in their performance. And honestly, this might be the weekend. Does Max win at Imola? Perhaps not. But like as I said, as we've seen from Checo Perez in the past as well, like all Red Bull need from fantasy is a good second driver result. Like that's all it takes. So, yeah, that's pretty much all Red Bull need for a good result is to Yuki to finish P6, P7, Max takes care of business, sorted. If Kimi has more stinkers, then I think Mercedes fall out of the fantasy template pretty quickly. Pick up Albon and Colapinto. Amar, yeah, I think so. Bingus, should I take a -10 to get rid of Alonso, Behrman, and Ferrari? Yes, I would be doing that. Ocon or Hulkenberg for this week? Hulkenberg. Tom's tweet is gold. Hey, isn't it, Sean? Why don't we like Sainz this week? I think I like Sainz, but he's probably going to drop 0.2. Samil, if we're talking drivers, like 1-for-1 swap, Antonelli, I guess. It depends on the rest of your teammate. I think if you want to, I think you have to get Piastri, McLaren, Mercedes. I think I said that before. So move out Russell for, I don't know, Albon, Colapinto. It depends on your budget. I can't see the rest of your team. Thoughts on the trolley problem? I'm not sure what the trolley problem is. Thoughts on fish paralysis. Thoughts on swapping Sainz or Albon and dropping Stroll for Colapinto to make it happen with my budget? Yeah, I think that's fine, mate. Why don't we Sainz, no transfers left this week. Take a -10 to remove Alonso. Would you take... the question was, would you take a -10 to remove Alonso? For who, though? Would you take Red Bull for Mercedes? No, I'd stick with Mercedes this week. Don't have enough budget for Albon, so don't get Stroll. Sean, I think. What would you if you use Limitless? Triple McLaren, triple Mercedes, Max Verstappen for Limitless this week. Days currently has McLaren Stake, Oscar Sainz, Gasly, Behrman, Hulkenberg. Sainz and Gasly might drop in, and Behrman might drop in price. I think you've got maybe Williams. It's a tough team. If you've got wildcard days, I'd just pull that ripcord. Hulk or Ocon? Hulk or Hadjar? Hulk, but Hadjar's perfectly fine. New team, William has 100 million. Piastri times 2. Albon, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, Williams. Great choice, William. That's exactly what I'd recommend for 100 million. That's more or less what I had for my article I wrote for Formula 1 during the week. So yeah, do that. Any chips this weekend? Not for me. Nope. Why is Red Bull showing up to be favourable picked on budget builder even though Mercedes is cheaper and better to go up in price? I'm assuming you mean in the Sims, not in the budget builder. I think the analyst writer has put stock in Max Verstappen to get the job done. It's his track. Like, it's a Max Verstappen track. Where was he in practice? I can't remember. Max was in the top 5 in all 3 sessions, wasn't he? I think, again, like, Max carries that team to 40 points most race weeks. Albon or Sainz, Hossian? Albon. When am I locking in, Aaron? I'll be locking in probably the next 10 to 15 minutes. Well before the deadline. So, yeah, Max, 3rd in FP3. Max was, I think, 5th in FP2. And I think he was top 5. He's a bit further down. I think Max is it. P3 with the mediums. Yeah, true. And Red Bull, Red Bull are looking strong on that medium tyre as well. Would you pull the... I don't think I get that question. Bortoleto versus Hulk, I think I said. Bortoleto for people who are yet to use Limitless and plan to in the next couple of weeks. Hulk otherwise. Michael Consuelos. I'm thinking Hadjar over Hulkenberg for points. Likely same budget, or is DNF on your mind? I agree. Hadjar, I don't know. It's a low DNF track. There's 1 DNF here. They averaged 2 at this track over the last 3 races. I'm not really thinking too much about DNFs. If there's a DNF, if there's a collision or a retirement, it will either be turn 1, lap 1, or like an unforeseen engine issue mid-race, which is what I think happened to Albon last year. There was no other incidents. So, yeah, I do think there's probably little risk of a DNF, and I'm not letting that really affect my thoughts, Michael. So I think for that reason, Hadjar... I think Hadjar only needs to score 7 for a rise. Hog needs to score 5. I think they're about even. Ferrari, Red Bull. Nina needs help. Haas or Alpine? Hang on. Haas or Alpine, but you've got Piastri? I'd probably go between the 2, Alpine. Could you get to Williams? Why Albon? Because Sainz, yes, I agree. Sainz is faster on track, but it's the budget building. Like, Albon needs 6 points for a rise. Sainz needs more than double that. It's a low overtake, low scoring track. I think Sainz probably doesn't. I think Sainz probably gets about 10 points this week. Albon probably gets about 7 or 8. That's why I think slightly... Like, that's a 0.4 swing if Sainz goes down 0.2 and Albon goes up 0.2. So it's not nothing. If you're on Limitless, I'd be choosing Norris because everyone has Piastri, Alex. What chip to use for the 3-race mini league? Who's calling me? I'd be using Limitless in one of the next 3 if you're planning to succeed in the mini league, which reminds me I should probably join it. I should also select teams, team 1, join the league. Also, let's do my F1 predict. All right, I'm going to lock in the next... Hang on. Where did my team go? It resized. I hate when that does that. All right, probably second to last time I'll ask this. 400 of you legends in the chat, up to 200 likes on the stream, 3,500 views over the course of the last hour and a half. So yeah, drop a like, guys, if you haven't. Subscribe. show some love to the channel if it's not too much to ask on this glorious Saturday, wherever in the world you are. For those of you, some of you, it might even be early Sunday morning, that are almost 24 hours ahead or more. Yeah. Okay, so my team reset. That's team 1. I'm going to drop in Colapinto and Alexander Albon. Why not Williams, Constructor, and pick Kimi Russell? Because that doesn't work for my team. Hulk or Bortoletto if I've already used Limitless. Probably Hulkenberg, Bingus. Paolo has the exact budget for McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Albon, Stroll, Colapinto, and Hadjar. Is it worth to pay minus 20? No. I'd probably wildcard. But that's a nice budget. If you've got Albon and Stroll, that is a nice budget. Signs of Mercedes or Albon and Red Bull? For points, Albon and Red Bull. For budget, probably Albon and Red Bull as well. I mean, I did say that an hour ago, Mac Apple, that my team too has Albon and Red Bull, and actually what I like this weekend. Leapfrogs pick Stroll over Albon. Yeah, I know. He was talking about that earlier in the week. I'm not on the same wavelength. I think it's more the 25 pointer in Miami that's kind of, I'm guessing, is Sweaty's thinking. Yeah, Williams just doesn't work for my team because I want to move them out at some point. And I just think, look, it's easy to be a hindsight merchant if Mercedes have a DNF and Williams don't, but yeah. Will Spurs win? I hope Spurs win. We're due a trophy, aren't we? I love to inflict pain on myself. I'm a Ferrari fan. I'm a Spurs fan. I'm a New York Jets fan. I'm an F1 fantasy manager. Find me anyone in the world that loves as much pain as I do in the sports world. I'm going Limitless in Monaco. Do you recommend Bortoletto, Albon, Kick, or Bortoletto, Colapinto, Williams? Emily, I'd be going Bortoletto, Colapinto, Williams. Little wary of a Colapinto DNF, but he's also a possible driver of the day. Yeah, it's a low DNF track though, Emily. So, yeah, I'd go the Colapinto Williams lineup. Would you take a minus 10 to switch Hadjar to Stroll? I'd say Stroll goes up 0.2. Hadjar goes down 0.2. They probably score the same. Is 10 points worth 0.4 million to you? And then if it is, do it. What's a good budget at the moment? I think anything above 108 and a half is pretty good. Like, that's like about, I'd say most people are between 108 to 110 and a half. Anything above 110, 111 is very good. If you're prioritizing budget this week and have 3 transfers, which tier 2 drivers are you bringing in? For budget, Stroll and Colapinto. Stroll definitely over Hulk? Yeah, I guess I would. Which drivers are expected to rise? Jeff in the budget builder tab on f1fantasytools.com. That can tell you that. Jane asks, should I get rid of Lawson for Alonso or Hulkenberg? I'd get rid of Lawson for Hulkenberg. Manchester about to lift it on Wednesday. I hope to not. I hope not, Aaron. I hope not. As a suffering Spurs fan of 20 years, I really hope we just have Man United have enough trophies. They don't need another one. Just give us one. Just give us one. Yeah, exactly, Zayas. Jets, Spurs, Ferrari. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a question in the chat. Super Rugby team, Jeremy's asking. Waratahs, because I grew up in Sydney. They've been terrible for years and years. Have Chiefs really always been that bad, though? I always thought Chiefs were right up there with the Crusaders and the Blues. They were always very strong. Trust me, the Ferrari Milan fan combo right now is unbeatable. I don't follow Serie A as much, but yeah, I think Milan are not having a great year. Who's better to take out, Behrman or Gasly? Behrman. I think Gasly will be perfectly fine next week. You got it, Nina. Happy. I've got 2 hours on my Saturday to kill. No better way than to chat nonsense. All right, I'm locking in my team. There it is. Piastri, Hadjar, Bortoleto, Colapinto, Albon, McLaren, Mercedes, 2 transfers, rolling a third to Monaco. If things go well, I burn the transfer. So be it. Alonso, Behrman out. Colapinto, Albon in. Let's just check. There's no last-minute team leaks. There's not going to be team leaks in Formula 1. What am I talking about? Just on the other window. Yep. What else have we got? Anything here? No. Nothing from the journalist. So, Leclerc or Antonelli for driver of the day. Neither. All right. Yep, nothing. All right, I'm locking in. We're locking in, ladies and gents. Colapinto, Albon in. Behrman, Alonso out. Team 2 is locked. Colapinto, Red Bull in. Behrman, Mercedes out. Team 3 haven't made any transfers, but will probably make the same transfers as my Team 1. Colapinto in. Albon in. Boring, I know. It's a boring week. It's a boring week for F1 Fantasy. It's a boring week. Team is locked. No chips. That's Team 2 though. I could have done, as I said before, like an hour ago, I could have done Albon in for Ocon for a hit. Oh, yes. And I'm playing F1 Predict. We were going to do that, weren't we? I edited them before. I'm a Jets fan, yes. RIP. Albon or Kimi this week. Albon, my budget is 109.8, I'm pretty sure. Not great. 109.5. Not great. My Team 2 is at 111. And that's ranked 10k in the world. So, doing all right. 9k in the world, I think. Your team or Piastri, Russ? My team. Waldy, my team. What about Triple Williams team? Wouldn't be doing Triple Williams team. Nabadip, my Limitless team, Triple McLaren, Triple Mercedes, Max Verstappen. Am I playing F1 Predict? We will do those in just a second. Stroll vs Hadjar, Stroll. Colapinto starts. Yes, Colapinto starts. That's the final. Excuse me. Oh my God. I'm not on form today. Apologies. Such bad manners. 400 of you still listening to me ramble. So I'm clearly doing something right. We will do F1 Predict per suggestions, and F1 Predict. I've missed 2 race weekends this season, so I locked these in last night because I was so certain I'd forget to do them. I forgot to do them on my stream a couple of weeks ago, and I've had some pretty good weeks, I'd say, but I have missed 2 weeks, so yeah, let's do them now. Let's just quickly check something. 200 likes on the video, guys. 234 likes. Let's try and get up to 250 before the end of the stream, if that's not too much to ask. Okay. Stroll vs Hadjar. Yeah, I think I said Stroll. KDB Mamouche. I do play FPL. Yes, Ibrahim. I think like 250 in the world. 250k, sorry, not 250. Not a great season for FPL for me, but what can you do? Would you take a -10 to get your team 1? Yeah, why not, Vince? Why not? Become a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. I don't have a hockey team. I guess because of the fact I'm in New York, it's the Rangers, but I don't really have an affinity to that. But let's go Spurs. Hadjar or Hulkenberg? Hulkenberg probably. I'm not taking a -10 for Hulkenberg though. Fields could be fun on the Jets, yeah. Aaron Rodgers was my favourite player, so it was good to see him move to the Jets, but it was a bit of a flop. Hulk or Bortoleto? Hulk for budget building, Bortoleto for budget preservation. All right, so let's do my F1 predictions. I got a Lando, Oscar, Max top 3. I did think about switching Oscar and Max. but that's my prediction. I think Lando will take pole. I think Carlos Sainz will qualify higher than Alex Albon. We're not looking at F1 Fantasy here, so I think Sainz is a better option. And yeah, I put my 2x on Lando. I think Lando's definitely due for a sprint. Definitely due for a pole. How far will Kimi get in the qualifying? It pains me to say this, but I do think he could be in trouble. Let's change that. I think top 10. Do we go top 5? Do we go top 5? Yeah, let's take the odds. Let's go top 5, take the odds. 15 points there. Who will set the fastest lap of the race? Lando Norris. Unless someone pits at the end for a soft tyre. I'm also going to try and knock out questions while doing this. Have I gonna run Limitless, Drakowsen, triple Mercedes, triple McLaren Max, and Lando 2X is my Limitless suggestion. Have I watched any Barca games this season? I have not. Which one should I keep, Ocon or Behrman? Probably Ocon. Do you ever go to Stout? Oh, great question, Sean. Yeah, I've been to Stout. When was I there last? It was Saudi Arabia. I watched qualifying at Stout. No, I watched qualifying at Failer and I watched the race at Stout. So yeah, if you're ever there, I won't be there this weekend, but I've probably been to Failer maybe half a dozen times, Stout a couple times. I was at another Stout further uptown last night actually for a drink after work, which was fun. Let me post my team. Well, yeah, we'll go through the F1 predictions and I'll try and multitask at the same time. I haven't posted my team. God damn. So yeah, I think Franco, I don't think he actually finishes the race ahead, but I wanted to take the odds, like 20 points. Alpine is the fastest car of the 4 on screen here, so that was kind of my logic. I think... Okay. Posting... I already had the post lined up. I just needed to crop the screenshot. Bit of a boring week, hey, for F1 Fantasy. So yeah, Colapinto, while I'm multitasking, Colapinto, I think, is the fastest car here. I do think there's... I do think there's a world in which he goes out in Q1, but I also think Bortoletto and Lawson are probably also out in Q1. So, and I'm not convinced the long run pace of the Aston Martin's all that competitive either. F1 Fantasy Team IMOLA GP. Alonso Behrman out, Albon Colapinto in. Playing it sensibly, no need to overthink it. Rolling a transfer to Monaco in case I needed it, or if Limitless is off the table then. Okay, posted. My team is live on Twitter. Question 7. How many classified finishes? I think 2. Not classified. 2 classified? That'd be kind of wild. 18 classified. Why don't we go 9? What's the odds for 19? 15 plays 10. Yeah, let's go 19. All it takes is a lap 1, turn 1 incident and 3 guys are in the wall or on the gravel. Although there were a couple of people that ran off the track in practice, hey. So, yeah, let's go 19. How many overtakes will be completed? Under 29.5. Definitely. Should I put the... Best NYC F1 bars, Failer and Stout for sure. I went to Ken Alehouse 2 weeks ago to watch the race in Miami. That was fun. -10 Alonso for Hulk. No. I wouldn't be taking a -10. Oh, actually, sorry, Red said. Hulk or Ockenberg? Hulk or Ockenberg? Hulkenberg or Ocon? Hulk? Red said, I'm not sure. -10 Alonso for Hulk. Yeah, I'd take that because it's a 0.8 swing. Alonso's dropping 0.6, isn't he? And Hulk's going up probably 0.2. So it's a 0.8 for 10 points. Yeah, I'd 100% do that. Stroll or Sainz? Stroll. Hulk or Ocon? I think I said Hulk, didn't I? Hey, Elliot. 5.7 in the bank, but don't want to bleed budget with Ocon, Sainz, or Behrman. Am I being paranoid? No, you're not. I had 4.5 the other week, and I was okay with that. You can start mid-season, Ali, for sure. But it's like F1 Fantasy, right? You just get the scores you've accrued to date. And so, like, if you've missed the first 5, 6, 7 races, then you obviously can't you'll be starting on the back foot a little bit. I don't play it competitively. I'd probably take all of about 2 minutes to submit my my predictions, but it's fun. Who'll be ahead in the team standings after the race? Alpine. I don't even know where these guys are in the standings. Back to home. So yeah, I had 120, and I forgot to do it for Miami. I forgot to do it in China as well. I always forget to do it on the sprint weekends. Why is that? 10 minutes, guys. Get those teams locked in. 255 likes, 300 concurrent viewers. View counts dropping off because there are probably 4 other people streaming at the same time as me. And there is a pretty uneventful weekend of F1 fantasy. So, yeah, it's all good. I thought Hulk was due a 0.2 drop. Was he? I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on... I'm more glass half full, not glass half empty. If he gets 5 points, he'll go up 0.2, but he could well go down 0.2. So at that point, like, what's the point? At that point, what's the point? Good luck, Sammy, mate. I hope you haven't... Seems so hard to get into failure. Yeah, you got to get there, like, I'd say... On a race day, you got to be there early. Like, you have to line up. That's why Stout right next door is perfectly fine, because it's like honestly the same bar, just less dressy with the F1 decorations. I'll go back to my team, quickly do all of the questions in the chat, and then pretty much wrap it up when we hit the deadline at 8 minutes to go. Get those teams in. Just under 300 of you, so view count's falling a bit, but that's okay. We can talk nonsense for the last 8 minutes. Good luck, Jeremy. Thoughts on Gasly after P3? Not this week. Looking to Limitless in Monaco. Should I get Stroll or someone who can't drop in price like Colapinto? I go Stroll, Renault. He's got that 25 in Miami, so that'll carry him for a bit longer. Piastri, Albon, Bortoleto, Colapinto, Hadjar, McLaren, Mercedes. Yeah, we got that, Jeremy. Nice. Real pain is a Leafs fan. Spurs haven't won since 61, Leafs since 67. Yeah, Spurs are tough, man. It's tough being a Spurs fan. Triple McLaren, DRS boost. I'd go triple on Norris, double on Piastri. If you're using the 3X, but I wouldn't recommend it. Stroll over Hadjar. Yeah, Michael, I'd go Stroll over Hadjar for sure. For Limitless, would you prefer Ferrari or Mercedes? Mercedes. Also Ferrari drivers or Merc drivers? Mercedes drivers. I think I said triple McLaren, triple Mercedes, and Max. Nabadib. Thank you, Theo. Thank you for coming by. Would you swap in Hulk for a Bortoleto for -10? Probably not. What about the weather? We didn't even do the weather. Imola. Oh, it's the wrong stream. It's the wrong tab. Goodness me. Good thing I've locked in my team. Imola weather. Moderate thunderstorm warning. I don't think, even if there's weather risk, I'm not really going to change. I've already used my no negative. I haven't got another good second driver. What's the weekend forecast in Imola? Oh, it's got Fahrenheit. Bloody hell. Celsius. I'd say the majority of people watching this stream are probably Celsius. So, this is the weather forecast. Saturday, a few clouds. Oh, that's at nighttime. A shower or two possible early in the day, partly cloudy in the afternoon. So that works in favor of Mercedes. Cooler day. No rain before qualifying. Oh, wait. Sorry, that's today. Face palm. So no weather risk today. Tomorrow, sunshine and clouds mixed. 14% chance of rain. I don't think that's not much of a concern. So I don't think there's much of a weather risk. Thank you, Ethan. Appreciate the love, my man. Have a great weekend. Rose, again, same to you. Enjoy qualifying. 5 minutes, guys. Get those teams locked in now. No real news coming out of Formula One, out of the paddock. Behrman, it has to Colapinto and Mercedes. Bingus, yes, 100% would do that. Is it worth taking out Behrman for Hulkenberg? Yes, I'd probably do that, Shivan. Good luck, everyone. Thanks, Maddie. Who's winning, Man U or Spurs? I hope Spurs. Thanks, Felix, mate. Yeah, lock in, Michael. Sounds good. Prem appreciate everything, guys. I'm still going to be here for 5 more minutes at least, just to see out the deadline. Levan is asking Piastri, Albon, Stroll, Colapinto, and a blank slot for McLaren and Williams. Who should I have as my last driver out of Bortoleto, Hulkenberg, Hadjar, Gasly, Sainz, 12.5 remaining? Oh yeah, it's tough. I guess, yeah. Budget's in a bit of a bind. I guess you don't really have the transfers, Levan, to do to downgrade Stroll to another 4.5 and then upgrade that second driver to Russell, do you? Or Albon to a 4.5. Could you downgrade Albon to Bortoleto and then upgrade that 5th slot to Russell or Antonelli? Dashing Fox, thoughts on Piastri, Albon, Sainz, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, Mercedes? I think that looks good. Love that. Hey Rob, McLaren and Williams are a good idea for a limitless in Monaco setup. Maybe less risky given Imola and Monaco are low overtake. Yeah, exactly. McLaren and Williams are great for budget building in the limitless weekend. Looks great, Elliot. Thanks, Brant. Any chips for today? No chips for today. Thanks, Ali. Like the stream, guys. 4 minutes until the deadline. So show some love. We're up, I think. Solid stream. Almost at 4,000 viewers over the last 2 hours. 200 of you in here. I know we've been dropping off a lot, but again, not many decisions to be made. I'm just happy to be here and ramble. Watch qualifying on the TV. Settle in for a nice little Saturday. Grab some breakfast. You know how it is. I just want to make sure. What's on my screen? Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're showing my team. That's my team. All locked in. Okay, so last questions, get them in now. Swap in Red Bull over Mercedes for -10. I wouldn't do that, Paolo. Thanks, Jeremy. Have a great weekend, mate. Hadjar or Hulkenberg? Probably Hulkenberg, James. Bortoleto or Colapinto, Matt? I'd go Colapinto. JB, long-time listener, first-time caller. You're the man, JB. Thank you for dropping by. Michael, thank you again. Chriso. I hope you stay ahead of me in the league too, because it won't be for much longer, mate. How are you, brother? What time is it in Sydney? To be what? Is it like 10 o'clock? Sorry, midnight. It'd have to be midnight, right? Luke, great to have you, mate. Thank you for dropping by, brother. Great video this week. Check out Luke, F1 Fantasy Strategy. One of the newer content creators in the game, but has had some really good insights. So show him some love on the channel for sure. Midnight here in Oz. Yeah, I thought so. Thanks, Neil. Okay. JB, some may consider Norris to Piastri this week. 110.9 required. I'd go Piastri because it would probably enable moves elsewhere to upgrade, like to an Albon or a Stroll, for example. Thank you, Sean. Dude, yeah, I'll probably be at Stout or Failer in the next, I don't know, not this weekend, but at least Monaco or Spain. I'll let you know. Would love to grab a beer with you. Thanks, Chris. Though my Bob fix. William, should I use any chips for this new team of mine this weekend? Entering it for the mini league. Piastri, Hadjar, Albon, Bortoleto, Colapinto, McLaren, Williams. No, I wouldn't, William. I would run that team, then limitless in Monaco, and that would set you up pretty nicely. Good luck. Thank you, Edu. Waldy, I love that team. Piastri, Antonelli, Sainz, Hadjar, Bortoleto, McLaren, Williams. Looks good. Thanks, Bernardo. You have a great weekend, my man. Alrighty, 1 minute, ladies and gents, if that. 50 seconds. 50 seconds on the clock. I know there's probably a bit of a delay between the stream and the clock. But get those teams locked in. Get those teams locked in. Almost 4,000 views for the stream. Solid outing. 185 of you still hanging around. We're just hanging out now. I think everyone's teams are locked. Just want to make sure mine are. Let's just refresh one more time. Teams are locked with a minute to go. Albon, Colapinto, Red Bull in Team 2. Ocon, oh well. Team 3, Albon, Colapinto. No hits taken. Wonderful. That is pretty much it. 3 2, 1. Teams are locked. Qualifying is underway, guys. So, again, thanks for another banger stream. Certainly a bit less intense than Miami. Didn't have any meltdowns, but yeah, going to be a good weekend. So good luck to all of yous, whether or not you're running a chip or not. But always here and always here for a yarn right before qualifying. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys. And yeah, I'll be back next week for my usual team selection, final thoughts videos. 3 races in a row. We got Imola, we got Monaco, and we've got Spain. So interesting to see how that all shakes out in the next few weeks. But yeah, drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you again for the stream and dropping by. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys, and I will see you all very, very soon.